Good morning. It's good to see you. How many is their first time here to Green Gulch? See you talk. Welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. How many here is their first time meeting me? I'm Zenju Earthlyn Manuel Osho. Yeah, nice to meet you, new people. Thank you. So you're here for the surprise, or it won't make you feel good, or it won't. I love that. Like, let's see what's in this box. We have been sitting sesshin, with 5-day sesshin, which means basically using the breath and stillness to come home, to come back to our hearts, to help us to not be distracted by everything that goes by. But then we come here and we sit, and guess what? We're distracted by everything that goes by. But we get to do it together. Be distracted and feel into what that might be, and maybe sometimes ask questions about it, and sometimes not. I always feel like I'm floating, after a sesshin. So when Q&A comes, are we doing Q&A? No, I don't think so. Oops, we might not be doing that because we're still sort of in the sesshin wave. We've been riding this wave in which we are co-rising together. And I've been using the image of the wave, I've been saying the word surfing, but I don't know how to surf, but surfing without a board. Who's here surfs without a board? Ever done that? I don't. You have experience? Okay, Nick. Yeah, I have a feeling of it, and I've never done it before, but it feels like the wave comes up and carries your body, and that's sort of the way our lives are. So today it's raining and a little bit, and if it rains some more, we'll have a different experience. And if it keeps raining, we'll have another experience. And if it starts flooding, we have another. It would just keep going and going like that. And that kind of reminds me of life. I want to share with you a poem, and then also talk a little bit about what we engaged, what teachings we engaged together in co-rising and being interdependent and interrelated, and using our inherent interrelationship as the foundation, as the everything really, the top, middle, and foundation of life. Why we are sitting here breathing right now together is because of this inherent interrelationship. So I wanted to share this poem. I haven't read this one in a long time, and it's been coming to me and coming to me. I wrote it way in 2011. I think I hadn't long been ordained at that time, a novice priest, and I had written this book called "Tell Me Something About Buddhism," and that book was for people in my family, and for people who would always see me and ask me, "I don't know much about Buddhism. Can you tell me?" And I would just name a book, like, you should read, blah, 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 my favorite one, books that I had. And then I noticed people keep asking me. And so I said, okay, I'm going to make a little tiny book with pictures in it. And maybe that will help, because they're not asking me for all of the Buddhism, all of what the Buddha said. They just want to know, what is it? A little bit. Tell me a little bit about it. Just so I'll know a little bit about it. The first person to ask me, this was a table full of Black Muslim brothers. They were in the Black Muslim Islam. And they were sitting, they were looking at me like, and I'm in my, full on Zen, and we're sitting at the table together, and they're, like, they keep looking at my rakusu. They're looking at like why she has that bib on, and because we are at a breakfast, right? So I think they're kind of wondering how this is going to work, and so I just kept smiling because I just loved. I love when there's curiosity, even if I'm not the one to clear it up for them. You just let people be curious, and. So one brother, he just said, sister, I don't know anything about Buddha at all, and I am so ashamed. I'm so ashamed that I don't know, All I know is about Allah. And he was the first one to say, could you tell me a little bit something about Buddhism? And so I started with my rakusu. I just started there because I could tell they were trying to figure it out. And so I told them about the stitches and how it's one stitch at a time. I don't know how many of you know that even on these cases, it's one stitch at a time. So you can imagine, this is not sewn on a machine at all. And each stitch is like a prayer or an invocation or a breath, And so I started talking about that, and that I told them I'm wearing my community, and I'm wearing my friends in my community. That's what this is. And they were like, oh, and I told them about each stitch. And I said, and that's what Buddhism feels to be to me. It's that place in which the teachings, even if they're not spoken in words, just the action, just the expression, brings together people. And many, many people sewed on my robes who never even, studied or stepped into Buddhism at all. And so they were amazed. And I ended up doing this book, Tell Me Something About Buddhism, under the approval of my teacher. You have to be approved to do that without, being Dharma transmitted. And then, and I threw some pictures in there. A little bit of art. I am a visual artist, so I threw that in there. And poetry, as I'm a poet, and I started writing poetry when I was 8, but the most poetry came out of me in high school. And I was very silent, so I used to have my own personal sashins, but nobody fed me during those years or did anything, or offered anything. I would just and my mother would just let me be quiet. And so I was, and my teachers too, they were very curious about this quiet person. And I was very quiet, very small person, in the class, always the smallest one, and didn't look like I should be in high school. So when I was in middle school, I looked like I was in 4th grade. That's how. And then when I got to middle school, high school, it looked like I was in middle school. So I was, getting all the action from the middle school, the middle school guy, 7th and 8th grade. So finally I wrote on my notebook, high school, don't come this way. It was so funny. Or even when I got older and I would start going out, to clubs, I could see them looking at, how everybody's looking, and they would look past me because I imagine they thought I was underage, And first of all, I couldn't get in them. It was very hard to get in because I kept looking like this kid, right? So, but that was very irritating, but also very protective. Thank you, whoever is protecting me. So this is the poem I wrote in the book, and since it's raining, it kept coming to me, so I said, okay, I'll bring it. And I printed it at the last minute, and about 2 minutes before I came in here, I said, oh, yes, I forgot to get the poem, go get it. So it's called When It Rains. I fall like rain. Some folks protect themselves from me. Some get wet. Zen is rain. when I fall from the sky. And now I have arrived. It's muddy and I can't stand it. But only for a moment. I stay muddy. Zen is muddy, wet, because, well, just because. At some moment in the future, I will dry in the sun and rise towards it. Zen is sunny. Until it is time again to fall, like rain. But there really aren't any words for this, rising and falling. If I had time, I would simply roll in the grass. Like when I was 5 years old, rolling on my father's St. Augustine grass. Neighbors laughing, eating on the porch with mom and dad. My sisters rolling in the grass. Getting emotional. Rolling in the grass with me. Our play clothes staying green forever. And that's me. That's me. No, not the little girl. The green stain. That's me. Don't worry. It will fade slowly until there's nothing. No me, no Zen. If there's no Zen, this is the end of the Dharma talk. Amen. I have another one I'd like to share with you toward the end. It just touches me. I've been feeling my family very strongly since I've been here. I have a very ill, young, he's 26, nephew, and he was lost for 5 days while I've been here. And he showed up, but in a very horrible condition. And it's been on my mind, so it just came out. So thank you for arriving in the grief, and the grief for all of those who, get so lost, can't find that way home. They don't have a sesshin to come to, or a place to gather, or they don't know of one, or a sanctuary, a place in which, even with all of our various conditions, because we all have some kind of condition, that we can go and be welcomed and feel it's home. And so we're looking for that place for my nephew. He's the sweetest guy, so sweet. And his illness makes him so violent, so it's just really tough. He knows I like tea. He wants me to talk about it. He knows I like tea. And so I came to visit, and he's like, well, when's she coming? When's she coming? He gets anxious. And so I finally got there, and, he met me at the door, and then we sat down, and I could tell he was hosting me, like seriously hosting me. And then he started having some problems while he was hosting me, and he was worried about what I was going to think about it, and uncontrollable movements and things like that. And I didn't care. I love him. And so he got up, he went to the table, and he stood behind the table because he knows I love tea. He said, would you like some tea? And I was like, yes, I would. And I looked down at the tea, and, it was that canned Arizona tea. With the, and I was like, oh, and I was like, I have a moment here, right? Sugar, everything I can't do, nothing I can do. And I could tell he was like, she's not gonna not take my tea. And of course, I took the tea, and I said, I promise to drink it later, And but thank you so much for the tea. He wanted to hear about the people I was going to ordain, as I was talking about ordination. I was getting ready to ordain 3 people, and he says, "Oh, those people are your posse." I said, "Yeah, they're my posse." I have a posse. He said, I have a posse, and I'm teaching them how to do crumping dance. It's a dance, crump. And he wanted to show me what he was teaching his students. And I just so beautiful to arise with this nephew and around, we're completely different, but to him, it was all the same. You know, so from then on, my students weren't my students; they're my posse. We're not going to crump, but we do the crump dance. But anyway, this arising is so important to our time, where we're living in, and coming to an understanding of it, not for ourselves. Like we really want to understand what is Buddhism. Tell me a little bit about Buddhism, and just a little bit, just enough so when someone asks me, I could say, Buddha, I don't know what they would say, but Buddha, ... Buddhism is ... And I've had people, tell me who Buddha is. And I mean, now there have videos, AI videos that tell you everything. And I've listened to them and, interesting, quite on, quite on point. Yeah, one of them has like 2 million views. So there's 2 million people being reached. And they also have books, AI book, so that even their books are AI, and they're selling those like quite, this is not a person. And they have like, 1 million views and followers, and they're selling books at, 500,000. Buddhist books. I'm scared. Not about whether or not what will happen to me, but whether or not what's being said is understood. And I did do an experiment, and I put a question out on AI. And I asked them, what would Zenju Earthlyn Manuel say about that? Just to play around with it. Just try it with your name. And they were on point, except for one thing, and the one thing was the most major thing. She talks about mindfulness. I never talk about mindfulness. I never really speak on it. It feels not to be part of my teachings or what I'm focused on. But I do sense, and not to put AI down altogether, there is some kind of a rising happening even in that. And it may be frightening, or it may be on point, and people are being creative. People have been using it for decades. It's not new. They're just kind of now revealing it to you. You've been talking to a robot for 20 years, and even though they sound perfectly like a human being, I mean, they don't sound like robots anymore, but they sound like a human being, and they can respond. And so, what kind of arising is that, and where is the context of that arising? When we've been studying this week is a chant called the Song of the Trusting Mind that's based on faith in mind, the Xing Xing Ming, so we're not going to get into all of that, but just wanted to share this sentence and this teaching that actually shows up in several chants. And for those who were in the sesshin, this will be a review. This will be your debrief. We don't debrief, but I'm playing with them because I talked about my needing to be debriefed. So anyway, the great way is not difficult for those who hold no preferences. The great way. What way and why is it great? It's not difficult for those who hold no preferences. When longing and aversion are both absent, it becomes clear and undisguised. When longing and aversion are both absent, it is the way becomes clear and undisguised. So we're still trying to explore what is this way. Because if we have it, why can't we use it like right now? What is keeping us from that? Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. Infinitely, just a distinction. If you want the way, here we go with this way, to manifest, then hold no opinion for or against. Have you recently been against anything? I have, so I'm going to confess. Repent and confess. I have. Have I been for anything? Yes, both, for and against. And because of that, I can't see the way. When I'm there, I can't see the way. It doesn't mean I can't go there. So it's not forbidden. The teaching's not forbidding you to have at it. It's asking you to look at when it's for or against and where is that coming from. And they're saying the teaching is if you want the way to manifest, then have no opinion for or against. So we want this way. We want to not suffer as individuals and as a collective. So the struggle of likes and dislikes is the disease of the mind. And so we talked about that quite a bit too. The struggle of likes and dislike is the disease of the mind. So as this chant goes, it's trying to move us into that already inherent interrelationship, that already vastness we were born into, a vast life. So vast, so big that all of us are in it. All of us are in this, and it pervades through all of our lives. And it's not something like we're all alike because we're human, because then that's too tight. That's just way too tight. I don't think I ever prescribe to that because there's so many other living beings and so many other things in the world that are part of this pervading life. And I think when I came to Zen, I felt that in the teachings. Whether other people feel about that, it's not the focus, my focus. But it was something, I guess, more than a belief too. It felt like it's in my heart. I could know this, like I've been knowing this since I was young. So how can we know some things already, and you're young, And I think that's because, for me, so many things happen to us as kids. And so then we start trying to figure it out, in our heads. And then somehow we can't because we're young. But we begin to set ourselves on this trying to find the way, to understand why this is happening and why that is happening. So you can't do it alone. And the way is not something you can, buy or, I might be able to do it. I haven't tried it, but, maybe it would be interesting to find out what would be said. But in another chant, it says, the way is basically perfect and all-pervading. So it's just like, okay, we're back there again. The great way is not difficult for those who hold no preferences. It's showing you about distinction, and that if you go for or against or like or not, you're going to stray away from this way. And so how could it be contingent upon practice and realization? This is in the Fukan Zazengi, which is instructions. So how can the way that is basically perfect and all-pervading be part of our lives? And is it the same way they're talking about in this one? And so I think I've been telling people about my top 100 sutras and chants, and it gets longer and longer every time I talk about it. But I think that when I hear something like that, even if I don't understand what the way is, I somehow in my not understand in my mind, not understand intellectually, but somehow in my body I know this. I know this when I sit zazen, and I know it when sitting in sesshin, how we all rise together. I can just feel the energy of those who were in the sesshin, and I can feel you joining in that. You didn't even have to be here, arising in it. And we don't have to put it on you, and you don't have to reach out for it. But if you make no distinction, there's no like or dislike about what you're seeing, then you're going to enter that way that I'm speaking about and that I'm feeling. You're going to enter it. Or maybe you already did as soon as you came in the door. And those who may have been here before several times, maybe they could speak to that, but or know that more when they come in after sesshin. It's a very different feel than when you come in. Maybe there hasn't been a sesshin. Maybe, I don't know. So the way is basically perfect and all pervading. The great way is not difficult. Then what's the problem? Yeah. Woo! That's a lot. That's only 2 lines of a million sutras. What is it? How could it be contingent upon practice and realization? They're saying it's so big you can't even practice it. So what are we doing? We always talk about my practice, my practice. The Dharma vehicle is free and untrampled. What need is there for concentrated effort? Indeed, the whole body is far beyond the world's dust. Oh my gosh, it's just like we're like beyond dust. Is there a little dust on those in front of you? We're beyond that, beyond that dust. That to me says that the potential of this living being, this arising together, it is out of our hands, thank goodness, but it also is something that was felt and experienced and received by the Buddha himself in his quest, in his teaching, in his life. And then those with him. I always say that Buddha wasn't alone in all that thinking. I do feel like he also was co-rising with others and could see. And I really, in my own, I like to add stories to other people's stories. And in my own story, I do know that they must have been part of the teachings that came through. There's so many of them. And then as they kept teaching, that others kept joining. Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, all these different people coming, to talk about the life, life and death. And so if it's perfect and all-pervading, and we don't need to practice, it doesn't say we don't need to practice. How could it be? How could it be contingent upon practice and realization? It is not. That's why. It is not contingent. It's contingent upon understanding your perceptions and your views, but mostly it's contingent upon how much you think you already know, how much you think you are yourself, arising by yourself with what you know and what you do and how you are and what you've decided and how you've shaped your life and how you're different than me and I'm different than you. And, tea was tea to Said, just tea. And that was like, when he offered it, tea was tea. It wasn't Zenju's little matcha, that she likes to make or whatever, different teas. I love tea. So the reason why we probably try to practice or try to open our bodies and minds to it is, and we sit meditation or we sit zazen or we are mindful, whatever practice you choose, we are working to look at the distinctions. I won't say working, let's say we're sliding into what those distinctions look like, or sliding into our intellectual mind, which a lot of us have, and have a very intellectual process of knowing Buddhism. And also we pursue words and following after speech. We're taught that the truth is in the word. I remember being taught that a long time ago. The truth was in the word. And that's like, okay. And then I had a teacher in 6th grade said, don't believe everything you read in a book. And I was like, yeah, okay. So that's life. That's the contradictions, right? So what do I do? And so I believe that the sesshins and the sitting in hours and or doing the activity of our interrelationship helps. So we're in activity of the interrelationship when we're in sesshin. Or yoki, zazen, bowing, chanting, over and over, arising, arising, arising. Now we're not going up. I'm using that word, so not to get caught in that we're going beyond where we are, right where we are, because it's pervasive. It's already pervasive. It's not difficult, without prefaces, and it's perfect and pervading. So it's already there. We don't have to practice it, but when we come and sit, take the time out of our lives to stop and see what is it that causes the suffering within our lives and between each other. So I did invite the participants from the beginning to use the sesshin to notice their arising with others, so not just to come and do their own thing, and maybe that's what happened, and that's still okay. Next time they come back, rise with 3 more, 2 more, 3 more, and maybe the whole sesshin, I mean, it took me a while. All I ever saw was me, in the beginning. I know that for a long time. And then it became very difficult because then I had the preferences. This preference one is really something that I focused on. I started having preferences of who I was going to sit next to. And, I remember one time, nothing wrong with the people at all. But I remember when I would first start sitting, I would sit like this. Like it was some kind of habit or something, or sit over like to one side or over to another side. And I remember the time when it after a few days, that's going to hurt you, right? Hurt your body. And you sit back and you're in that place of just being with and breathing together, even though you don't know the person. And so that's when all of the distinctions fall away. Because obviously there's something I make up in my mind that I lean this way, even though I'm not even aware. And I lean this way. And then when I noticed I was leaning, I was pretty like, why am I leaning? I really didn't even know I was leaning until a couple of days later, So that the mind and noticing that and beginning to just sit with the breath, and then eventually you still get caught up in the people. I wonder what happened to that person who was sitting there. What happened? You still go over there. Like maybe they're asleep. Oh, they're still asleep. They're not a good practitioner. They're still in the bed. I just know they're still in the bed. they took that zazen time off. Well, oh well, maybe I could take off. I wonder when would be a good time for me to take off. Okay, I kind of don't like the tea part, but okay. I do like the tea part, of course, but if you haven't gotten that part yet of the talk. So pursuing words and following after speech and learning the backward step that turns your light inward, that's the way. That's the way. The great way of not difficult for those who hold no preferences. The way is basically perfect and all-pervading. So this is one way to express it. There's so many ways you could express it. Pursuing words and following after speech and learning the backward step. So not pursuing the intellectual practice and taking the backward step and turn the light inward to illuminate yourself. In my first intensive day after day after day sitting, there was a very scholarly young man who was in our practice of those days, that week rather, that we were sitting together, and we would meet for tea at City Center. You meet for tea sometimes during these, in a group with a teacher. And this person kept meeting, and I would see them when they first started, like they knew it all, because they were going to, I think, San Francisco University. They were in the Buddhist Studies department. I think they had one there. And they would sit and then each day, the body would drop, drop. I mean, literally, I could just see, I said, they were really changing. I could just see it in their body. There is, and the more Dharma talks that happened, the more they were like, and then one time at tea, he came in and he just burst into tears. He said, I don't know anything about Buddhism. Nothing at all. He said, I've never experienced this before. you know. And I invited them. I said, you can come and do this again and again, anytime, you know. But it was surprising to them that you could actually express it without those words that he had learned, you know. So maybe we have ideas, and I think that that's quite, you know, part of being human and the conditioning that we have. But is there a space in there for allowing something else to arise? And this is my wish and my invocation for us in this time, is to be able to allow things to rise for us that might seem different, and to be patient enough to not go, okay, I think it's time something should have changed by now, and it's only been like 3 months, and it's something that's affecting the entire world. I think that's not allowing something to come through. Yes, a lot of things are being destroyed, things are being taken, people are being hurt and suffering. And sometimes waiting feels like if we wait, then it's you know, not right, you know, to wait. And to, but is what we're doing right now, are you waiting right now? Just because you're sitting here in a Zen center, are you waiting? No, you're doing something. You're doing the activity of our inherent interrelationship. We're doing that right now together. Don't know everybody. You don't know me either. You know, but we're doing that. And that can be carried out without words, without writing, without a book that says, tell me something about Buddhism. Without all of that. Take one sentence of one sutra and live it for the rest of your life. That's all you need. That's all you need. It might take you, it will take you, it will, let me let you know, it will take you all your life. Not to think it out, but to hone it, cultivate it, without like going to the teacher, please help me cultivate this, I think you're my teacher, you know, cultivate this. That might be maybe true. But what I got from my teacher, what was translated, Zenju Blanche Hartman, had nothing to do with what she said, ever. And she had a lot to say, you know, it's very feisty, and also very dedicated, devoted. But I wondered, I said, well, maybe she's not quite the right teacher because, you know, I'm intellectual, and I like to talk about the Dharma, and that was not happening. And I thought, okay, I'll stick with her. And I just was with her as many times and as often as I could, constantly with her. Eating lunch, you know, I get my partner, I said, come on, clean, wash the clothes. Because, you know, she would go help wash clothes and things like that, you know, bring food, bring persimmons, that was her favorite thing. Her other favorite thing were mochi, but, you know, that was a bad no-no, but we would sneak them in there. And, but she transmitted her joy, which her Dharma name, Zenke, meant unsurpassable, insurpassable joy. That was her Dharma name, and she believed that was her last, you know, you have two, Shunbo Zenke, Shunbo Zenke, and Zenke was unsurpassable, or incomprehensible joy. And that meant when she got that name, she wasn't joyful. Like Zenju means complete tenderness, got it? She's practicing, she's learning, she's growing, she's arising into tenderness from others. Learning that from other people, other people's lives. You know, I need that help. And so she transmitted her incomprehensible joy, not a life, of just the practice of Zen. Because she always seemed happy, you know, always bouncing down the steps like, you know, it was like she was going to some kind of party in the Buddha hall, you know, you know, put on her best Zen outfit, you know, and it would look really good on her. You know? So I did learn that. I do try to put on my best Zen outfit, and but that I arose with her. We co-arose, and not just teacher-student, not for me to get something from her or for her to push something into me, but a way of just being together and feeling all the emotions, from anger to love, all of them, all of them. There were things she would say sometimes that would be unbelievable. Then I would just, not, okay, I would disagree. And she was from Alabama. And so my parents are from Louisiana. And so she would always say, yeah, you and me, we're from the South, and I'm like, kind of, But she loved it so much, I didn't never ever take that away from her. I think you had, a maid and everything, We're on two different kinds of South, but it's okay. It's okay. I love it too, and very much became protected by her in the practice. So I wanted to read another poem because we can go on with this. I think the what I'm pointing at has been made. I think hopefully I wanted to. This one is about silence. It's in my book, The Deepest Peace, which was written pretty much from bed. I was not well, at this time, and I began to write this different kind of poetry, still different to me, and I love it. It's my favorite book. Not selling it. Books don't make money. So, so anyway, silence leads to the interior. Silence leads to the interior, where moss grows in layers. Bamboo sinks itself into you. In your innermost earth, the deep speaks. It does not think, it calls. Go unafraid into the dark, into life, without doubt that your heart is open. Do you want me to read it again? Okay. Silence leads to the interior, where moss grows in layers. Bamboo sinks itself into you. In your innermost earth, the deep speaks. It does not think, it calls. Go unafraid into the dark, into life, without doubt that your heart is open. So we arise together in our open hearts. Okay. Questions? Don't give me choice. Okay. Hey, our intention, if we